Anyway, so after a few days of using the name Ian in class and so on, I had basically decided already. I was kind of thinking about exactly when to start asking friends to try it out too, but I thought it would be nice to try it out with more people than just, the people who happen to be in this class. Like, it makes a difference whether you know someone first, so I thought it'd be nice to try it with both people I didn't know and like people that I knew and was close to. After a couple of days of this, I decided to start coming out to others as well. The thing is, this basically concurred exactly with the week leading up to Pride. So I found myself coming out to people, at events, at parties, on the street. It was like really both a really good and a really challenging, I guess, time to come out because I saw a lot of people that week. So in that sense, it was great. But it was also kind of like, it felt like we didn't necessarily always have time to like sit down and talk about, why I'd chosen to do this and now and why this name in particular and all of those things. Many of the people that I found myself coming out to, I had talked about it with them at some point before. And I would like, in general, I mean, everyone has their own situation, but in general, recommend that. Like I think it was helpful to them and to me that we had like at least a little bit of a conversation before this. Like I would sometimes ask them sort of their input on the different names, or just kind of like, hey, this is something I'm thinking about, or in the months leading up to it. And I found that was good. And I think it helped them that it didn't seem so abrupt. I mean, obviously it's still a shift regardless. And like I was saying, I'm fortunate to be in a position where the dysphoria about my old name is not so strong that I'm pretty much very sincerely able to say that I mess up myself sometimes too. Like I'm definitely still in a period of adjustment. I don't always honestly recognize it when someone calls me like the wrong thing. It's funny because the one time that the person in my class called me my former name, it really did take me a little bit to wait. I was like, is that the right name? Which name did he use? Like I had to ask myself. Like it didn't even strike me immediately. It was something that I had to sort of analyze afterwards. So when he passed me the note, it was really the first time that I was like sure that he had actually called me that, because it just takes time sometimes to adjust to something new. It's not that it's bad or wrong, it's just new. It's something that I have to adapt to, I think. So yeah, I think it'll kind of be a matter of time, and we'll see how it goes and if it feels like more natural as time goes on. But yeah, I realized that I've been thinking about this actually for a really long time. I just checked the like Word document on which I like recorded the results of my like name brainstorming, and it was actually created last May, like May of 2011. So shows that I mean, even though I haven't necessarily been talking with others about this, or like obviously haven't made any steps towards this, like it's definitely been something that's on my mind, as a possibility. So I think it's good that I had some time to think through that, make sure I chose a name that was good, and I had some time to think about like how I would approach it with people and how I would deal with it if people slipped up, or listening to other people's experiences with that was really helpful for me. I guess I kind of struggle with like how to I have struggled a little bit with how to broach it to other people. Like, should I present it as something that I'm trying out? Should I present it as something like, could you please call me this? Or I would really appreciate it if you could call me this. Or hey, let's try this possibly. Like I don't know, because it feels both like something that it would be great if everyone got on board with and was able to try out so I could have as consistent an experience as possible. But on the other hand, I don't want to make people feel bad if they slip up or under a whole lot of pressure because it's not something that's a really, really high priority to me at this point, that people are 100% on board. So, it's kind of both an experiment and something that matters to me, and it's difficult to articulate exactly how I feel about it because I'm still figuring it out, and so it's very difficult to explain to someone else exactly how I feel. Yeah, I think I'm just in an adjustment period and like seeing, and an experimental period and seeing how it works. I had one kind of awkward, situation happen like the other day. Someone that I knew from my program at school, who I'm friendly with. I mean, I wouldn't say we're close, but like, we get along, we know each other. He lives pretty close to me, and so we met each other on the street, and he was with a friend of his. And so at one point he was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't introduced you to this." He was addressing me. "This is my friend, so and so," and he introduced the other. I can't remember what his name is. Let's call him Fred. He was like, "This is my friend Fred." I was like, "Oh, hi Fred. Nice to meet you." And I guess I didn't fully realize at the time, like, in the moment that I was saying nice to meet you, but I never actually said my name. Like I didn't introduce myself. But immediately after that, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't introduce myself. I should introduce myself. What do I introduce myself as? You know, like because I had been drilling myself for the whole last week. Introduce yourself as Ian. Introduce yourself as Ian. You're Ian now. You know, like that sort of thing. Because I just have to prepare myself to make sure that I don't slip up. Because I did that in the past when I was going by my last name. So you know, I had to like fight that self conditioning. And yet I didn't then go and introduce myself as my old name, which is what I should have done because I hadn't come out to this person in my program. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's like I just that's not what I'd been doing for the last week, or if it actually felt wrong. Like I'm trying to figure out exactly how I feel about my old name in relation to my new name in comparison to my new name. So still working through all of these things, but so far it's been a good experience and an interesting experience, and yeah, lots of funny little. It's just interesting to see other different people's reactions and so on. I also feel very, very out now. I mean, like, I think because you know, with all of my close friends, I had talked about gender issues for a long time. Like we've always talked about these things, and especially so since I've started like questioning my gender identity. But, like, there's still a huge amount of people sort of on the periphery of my experience, mostly friends of friends, who I don't know if they read me as trans. I don't know what they read me as. I don't know if how they interpreted me. You know, I would have been going mostly by my old name with them, and so if I hadn't had an opportunity to talk directly about my gender identity, I don't know what they would have thought. But now, if I say, "Oh yeah, I'm going by Ian now," you know, then it's very much like I'm putting myself in a certain camp, you know. So I like that, and I like that I'm more apparently, like more evidently trans-identified. I guess to be honest, my main hesitation about being out in that way and making that step is just that it does seem like such a almost momentous or like seemingly irreversible thing, and I know that's not the case, and like you can always change your mind about these sort of things, but you know, it does involve a certain amount of like, I know minor, but still an imposition on others, you know, to ask them to try to make that adjustment. So I would prefer not to have to do too much of that, you know, honestly, because adjustment is not easy for anyone, including myself or whoever is in the position of changing their name. But that said, I think this is a good time and a good opportunity. So I'm gonna go ahead with it. I'm gonna see how it feels. I think it's working well so far. It's been a surprisingly easy shift for me up to this point. I'm really fortunate in having a lot of supportive people around me who are really making a good effort towards this. So I really appreciate that, and really happy that things are going well, and we will continue to see how it feels in the future.